Well, as many of us already know, we don't have a discipline problem, we have a brain chemistry problem, an addiction problem. But the addiction isn't to the cell phone, it's to those chemicals we get. When we're looking at our cell phone, when we're watching reels, for example, or short videos, or things that are very satisfying and give us that immediate dopamine. But what is really happening? It's a problem of habits. Your brain is conditioned to grab the cell phone so it doesn't feel empty, so it doesn't feel bored. This creates a neural loop. Any habit creates a neural loop. It can be positive, it can be negative, it can be beneficial for us, or it can be harmful for us. What the habit of grabbing your cell phone does is take you out of consciousness, it puts you on autopilot, and since we do it over and over again, it becomes a habit. The habit practically sometimes becomes this repetitive and automatic action that we do almost unconsciously. And the goal to change this habit is not to fight or forbid ourselves from using the cell phone, but to create a different chemistry, a more powerful internal chemistry. We are going to rewire our brain so that it prefers the reward of conscious creation, of life, of experience. Life before the reward of quick fixes and distraction. Because what our phone is doing to us is taking us out of the present, out of consciousness, out of our life experience. And it takes us to a state of unconsciousness, where many times we relax. And through that, many ideas sneak in that we don't want for our well-being, and they become our own ideas and our own way of seeing life. When we try to forbid ourselves from using the cell phone, what this actually creates is more resistance and more stress. So our energy drops, and therefore our neural response associates it with something negative, which makes us more susceptible to that addiction. The only way to break that neural network, that habit of picking up the cell phone, is with a new neural network. That associates it with joy, with gratitude, with love, and with well-being. Because the neurons that fire together, along with an elevated emotion, connect together. If we stop giving energy to the old neural network, to the neural network of cell phone use, we start giving energy to the new neural network of conscious creation, and we associate this with elevated emotions. That's why, honestly, the real fun that will surpass the cell phone will be generating an elevated emotion before the action, before the experience, and not because of the experience itself. Let's look at an example. Do you feel the need to grab your cell phone? You're lying on your couch, you have time, and you immediately want to grab your cell phone. There, you pause for a moment before grabbing it, you bring your hand to your heart, and you take a deep breath, and you connect with the elevated emotion of gratitude, which is one of the most powerful, and you give thanks for whatever you feel, for being alive, because your family is healthy, because you are healthy, because you got a new opportunity at work, for the nice warm shower you took in the morning, for whatever you feel in that moment and comes to your mind. Or simply practice gratitude, which is also a habit that you develop and achieve just by saying, I feel grateful, and feeling it in your heart. We don't need any image because we already know that emotion and we create it ourselves. That is our true purpose, not to manufacture elevated emotions to attract them to us when we need them or when we want to produce them. Because we are like a producer of energies. So as human beings, if we are conscious, can we choose what we produce for our world? We can produce love, gratitude, benevolence, kindness, or we can produce anger, frustration, rage, sadness. That's why it's important to know ourselves and to understand how we produce gratitude, love, and thankfulness, and how we produce sadness, anger, and frustration. So we can change it and make it good for ourselves, and of course, if it's good for us, it will be good for our environment too. So let's go back. We wanted to use our phone, we place our hands on our heart, and we feel gratitude. What we're doing is interrupting. It was about to connect, but we interrupt it and make a new neural network form so that other neurons are the ones that connect. So if we do this many times, the brain will get used to making a new neural connection, and we will create a new habit, which is the way to break an old habit with a new one. It's always like that. What we do is separate our awareness from the automatic programming, and for that we have to detect it. Oh, I'm going to grab my phone. Well, no. And there I'm already being aware of what I was going to do, that I was about to go on autopilot, do something unconsciously, and just throw myself into it. So I stop and say, I'm going to do this. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to give myself a chance. Wait for me just a little bit. Wait for me just a little bit. If it doesn't work, I'll grab my phone. But if not, give me a chance. And I feel love and I feel gratitude and I connect with life. And that's when I start to change my brain chemistry and change the way I see life. Because I feel emotions, and those emotions produce chemicals in my body that I like and that are good for me. And what we have to do is feel that emotion, bring it to the heart, and hold it there for at least a few minutes. I feel love, I feel joy, I feel awe. Something magical happened these days and I remember it and I say, wow, how wonderful that was, how much joy it brought me, how good it made me feel, how beautiful life is, how wonderful it is to feel this way. I want to feel this for as long as possible. And you'll see that if you hold on to it for a few minutes, you'll take a deep breath. And when you breathe deeply, you'll feel a coherence between your heart and your brain. You'll see that something changes. Something changes. There is a coherence between what we think and feel, and that becomes repetitive in us. It's a habit that is beneficial. It changes our body chemistry. Before taking any action, we first do this exercise of changing our body chemistry, our emotions, and our state. And then yes, from this elevated emotion and from this state, we are going to take action in life. And we are going to do something that we really like, that gives us pleasure, that we love. It could be talking to someone in our family, making ourselves some mate, reading a book, going outside and enjoying the sun. Spend 30 minutes on a project that we are starting and that we really like. We're very excited for it to work out. We dedicate 30 minutes to it, mowing the lawn, working in the garden. Everyone feels pleasure in different ways and will connect with that. There are many people who are in a vibration, sometimes so low or with so little energy. You could also say that they don't remember what they like, they don't remember what gives them pleasure. So for that, I made a list of 20 examples that I'll give you at the end of the video, so that you can write them down, and in those moments you can grab the list and say, well, I'm going to do one of these things. I'm sure that among those 20 options I'm going to give you, there will be at least 5 or 6 that you love. I'm sure of it. So just give me a little time, I'm almost there, and I'll give you that list. So the real life action we choose to do, we're going to do it with this elevated emotion that we just created in our hearts. For example, I'm going to sunbathe, but since I connected with gratitude, I'm going to go out into the sun and feel grateful that there's a new day, that the sun caresses my skin, that it's gentle, that it gives me vitamin D, that it helps me absorb nutrients and be a healthy person, that it boosts my immune system, that it's very beneficial. Sunbathing also gives me a beautiful tan. We connect with gratitude, with all these positive thoughts, and with the enjoyment that comes from sunbathing. So what is the purpose of this? The brain associates that activity with the chemistry of the elevated emotion that you created yourself. So life itself becomes your new pleasure drug. We're generating elevated emotions that create chemicals in our bodies, giving us pleasure we enjoy and that benefit us. The impressive and important thing about the message I want to give you is that we have the power to create. The chemistry that we're looking for so much in our phones, the state of pleasure that we seek in our phones, And not only that, because when you're looking at your phone, at that moment you feel good, in quotes, but as soon as you put it down, the emptiness is absolute. It's like something sucks you in and you have no more energy and you don't feel like doing anything, and everything happens so fast. It's like your brain just can't, it takes away all your willpower. However, when you practice what I'm telling you, your energy multiplies, that state of pleasure multiplies, we become creative, which is our natural state. We have a lot of good ideas and we feel radiant, fulfilled, like we're full instead of empty, and it's the complete opposite. When we finish the activity, we have so much energy that we want to give it, we're in a good mood, we want to share something. Suddenly we leave and make a cake for our family and offer it to them. Or we go visit a friend to chat, or we call them on the phone because we know they're not doing well, and we have so much energy that we become givers. That's the big difference. And when you become the creator of your own chemistry and your own life, you're no longer a victim of your phone or a victim of anything or anyone. Because we realize that we're capable of creating our own life, our emotions and our state simply by remembering that we are creators. And by putting into practice the use of our emotions to our advantage. Our emotions are generators of energy. It's like we plug ourselves in here to all this radiant energy to go out into the world, even more than enough, even extra energy. That's why we fill ourselves so much with energy from elevated emotions that when we interact with the world, we are able to give. Because the person who isn't able to give, the person who complains and feels miserable, is someone who has very little energy. It's a person who really complains because they don't have energy, so they need someone else's energy to feel alive. That's why it's so important to know how to generate our own energy, our own nourishment. Beyond what we eat, it's a super necessary nourishment, vital energy, the kind we generate through our emotions. Well, now I want to give you that list I mentioned. I wrote it down here and I'm going to share it with you. There are 20, I'll read them out so it's more dynamic and faster. And if you want to copy it onto a little list, you can write it down to have it handy for these moments. Dedicate 30 minutes to working on your sacred project, on that project you'd really like to do or that's already underway. This activates the dopamine of creation, which is stronger than that of distraction. Sunbathing and contact with nature. Spend 10 or 15 minutes in the sun. Heart and future meditation. Practice your meditation focused on the heart. Feel love in your heart. And feel those goals or that future as if it has already happened, as if you are already living it. 4. Keep a gratitude journal. Write down 3 to 5 things you feel grateful for. And feel that emotion, even if it's just for a minute in your body, for each of those things you are grateful for. Intentional movement means moving your body in a way you enjoy, whether it's walking, dancing, or stretching. That will change your chemical state and give you a great sense of enjoyment. Dare yourself, challenge a small fear, do something that makes you a little uncomfortable, like calling someone, trying a new food, going for a walk if that's hard for you, going outside for a walk, for example, doing something uncomfortable. Because overcoming is a radiant source of life, making us feel so good about ourselves, about our achievements. Disconnect and create with your hands. Cook something delicious, for example, a recipe from soy. A hora could be something healthy. Draw, knit, paint, work in the garden, something with your hands, something creative. A deep human contact, having a deep connection, a deep conversation with a human being, with a loved one. Appreciate a meal, observe a meal, eat with all your senses without talking or anything, just being there, feeling, eating slowly, breathing, feeling the flavors. An anonymous act of service, doing good for someone without expecting anything in return, without them even knowing it's you. Leaving a coffee paid for, a warm meal for someone, leaving a positive note for someone you don't know, a magical gesture, something like the movie Pay It Forward, but on a smaller scale. Laughter and games. Take 10 minutes to play as if you were a little girl, with your pet, with your children, but do it without any judgment, just pure fun. Nourishing reading. Read at least one chapter of your favorite book or that book you've been putting off but would really like to read. Conscious breathing. Do at least 5 minutes of conscious breathing. Inhale and exhale and try to focus your thoughts only on the act of breathing. This oxygenates our brain and calms our nervous system. The powerful no. Saying no to an invitation, for example, or an obligation that you know will drain your energy. So knowing how to say no is also positive. Full listening to music, sitting alone just to listen to a piece of music that moves you deeply, feeling it with your whole being, taking a deep breath. And just like I mentioned with food, this time it's about listening to music, one that you really like. Visualization of your future self. Spend 10 minutes closing your eyes and visualizing yourself as the person you want to be. And feeling those emotions in this present moment as if you were already like that. Awareness walk. Just walk for 10 minutes. Paying attention to all the sensations, to the sound of your surroundings, to the air on your face, to the noise of your feet, to the rhythm of your steps, to the weight of your body. Conscious cleaning and tidying. Outer order reduces mental chaos and creates an immediate sense of accomplishment. It doesn't have to be your whole house. Suddenly, it's a drawer you've had messy for a whole year. You take out that drawer, take out the little things, and organize them, in silence or with music that inspires you. You make everything beautiful, practical, and comfortable just the way you like, and you achieve it. You have that space organized and you are present, feeling what you are doing in that very moment. Memories of success. Remembering several moments when you felt proud of yourself, when you felt happy, successful, when you achieved it, and relive that emotion. For example, for me, some time ago, about a year ago, I learned how to drive. I learned how to drive as an adult. And every time I remember that moment when I had the license in my hand, and I knew how much it had cost me, something that for others might be very simple, but for me, it had been really hard. So connecting with the pride of having achieved it after so many years. I did it, I made it, and I know how to drive, and I have my license. I'm so proud of myself. I feel so good about myself. And lastly, a bedtime ritual. Thank your body for supporting you throughout the day, for everything you've accomplished, and forgive yourself for any mistakes you think you may have made. This way you'll end your day in a state of peace and gratitude. Well, that's all for today. I hope this is very helpful for you, that you really like it, and that it truly benefits your lives. I want to make one more contribution from a spiritual perspective, because I know we can change our lives for the better. And if we change our lives for the better, our environment changes. And if our environment changes, our world changes. We are going to live in a dream world. That's why we start with ourselves, with each one of us. And we are going to be an example. And what human beings generally learn is what inspires them, what motivates them. You learn by example. I send you a kiss, a big warm hug, and see you next time. Bye.